When your man wanna get fucked, Jay-Z.
Oh my God! No. And I don't care. I don't care who he's dating. I always had a crush.
There's a story the music world tried to forget. A story that never made the headlines the way it should have. A story about a woman named Blu Cantrell, who once stood on the edge of R&B greatness before disappearing almost overnight. But what happened to Blu Cantrell wasn't just bad luck or a fading career. It was something much deeper, much darker, and far more controlled than anyone realized. For 20 years, she kept secrets that now are starting to surface. And at the center of it all, Jay-Z. The same Jay-Z who built an empire with Beyoncé, who's been praised for his business moves and cultural impact, may have played a role in silencing Blu forever. Blu Cantrell, whose real name is Tiffany Cobb, was not just some one-hit wonder. She was a rising star with real talent, a voice that could stop you in your tracks, and the kind of beauty and presence that demanded attention. Before she dropped her debut album in 2001, she was already grinding in the background of the music industry. She worked with big names like Diddy and earned respect for her hustle. But when her breakout hit 'em up style, Oops, exploded, everything changed. That single dominated the charts, the radio, and music television. Her debut album went gold in just 2 weeks, and she landed 2 Grammy nominations. Blu was everywhere: interviews, red carpets, major tours. She was being mentioned alongside Ashanti, Mai, and Monica. People expected her to be the next big thing. But then, just as fast as she rose, Blu started fading from the spotlight.
A younger, less savvy to the ways of the world broad.
Somebody a little bit more naive.
You said it, not me.
And just her second album, Bittersweet, came out in 2003 and even got another Grammy nomination. But it didn't get the same support. There was little promotion. Her tour plans were cut short, and then her contract with Arista Records was quietly dropped. No press release, no big scandal, no reason given. She just disappeared. And at the time, people thought maybe it was just the way the industry worked. Some artists make it, others don't. But now, 2 decades later, we're starting to learn that Blu's disappearance may have been orchestrated. The rumors started years ago. Industry insiders whispered about a secret relationship between Blu and Jay-Z. It wasn't public, and it wasn't confirmed, but there were signs. Late-night sightings, private parties, vacation talk, nothing too solid, but enough to make people curious. Then came the infamous Wendy Williams interview. Wendy asked Blu straight out if she had ever kissed Jay-Z romantically. Blu didn't deny it. She giggled, blushed, and said she couldn't answer. That moment set the internet on fire. People began connecting the dots. Blu had been close to Jay. Jay had power. And suddenly, Blu was gone. In that same interview, Blu also made a shocking statement. She said Jay-Z didn't choose Beyoncé for her voice, but because she was younger and easier to control. At the time, people brushed it off as jealousy or bitterness. But now, looking back, it sounds more like a warning. Blu wasn't just throwing shade. She was exposing the truth about how power moves are made behind the scenes. Not long after that, Blu accused Beyoncé of copying her style. She said Beyoncé jacked her fashion, her video concepts, and even her sound. Blu released a video with a Western theme, desert shots, and bold energy. Shortly after, Jay-Z and Beyoncé dropped '03 Bonnie and Clyde, which had similar visuals. Blu's hit Breathe, featuring Sean Paul, rode a Korean wave. Then Beyoncé dropped Baby Boy, also with Sean Paul, using a similar sound. It was like Blu's entire artistic style was being duplicated, but with more funding, more exposure, and more power behind it. And then came the theory, the one that really shook the internet. Some people believe Blu Cantrell might be the
prop. Instantly, rumors exploded. Was Beyoncé faking her pregnancy? Was she wearing a prosthetic belly while a surrogate carried the baby behind the scenes? Now, throw that into the mix with Blu Cantrell's sudden disappearance, and the whole thing starts sounding too perfect, too controlled. If Beyoncé didn't carry that baby, then who did? That's when people started pointing fingers back at Blu. Was she the one forced to carry Jay-Z's child and then made to vanish? And was she ordered to stay silent, or else? Jaguar Wright, one of the boldest voices calling out the music industry's darkest secrets, didn't hold back. She straight up said Jay-Z and Beyoncé erased Blu, that they used their influence to rewrite the story, destroy competition, and scrub out inconvenient.
Real mother of Blu, Ivy Carter, Jay-Z, and Beyoncé's daughter. At first glance, it sounds wild. But when you start looking at the timing, it doesn't feel so crazy. Blu vanished in 2004 after her second album. In 2012, Beyoncé announced the birth of Blue Ivy. That's 8 years later. Some fans believe the name Blue wasn't just about a color, it was a nod, or worse, a cover-up. They think Jay-Z and Beyoncé named their daughter after Blue, as a way to erase her from the narrative while keeping her hidden in plain sight. This theory gained more traction after a strange moment during Beyoncé's 2011 interview with Australia's Sunday Night Show. As she sat down in a tight dress, her baby bump appeared to fold like it was fake. Viewers were stunned. The clip went viral. Rumors flew that Beyoncé may not have been pregnant at all, and that a surrogate carried Blue Ivy. That moment, paired with Blue's sudden disappearance, started to make people wonder if Blue was more involved than anyone knew. And if that wasn't enough, Blue's life took another tragic turn in 2014. She was found in the streets of Santa Monica, barefoot and screaming that someone was trying to poison her with gas. Police picked her up and sent her for a psychological evaluation. The media pounced. They called her unstable, unhinged, crazy. No one asked questions. No one cared why a once famous singer ended up like that. They just wrote her off. But some fans believed it wasn't a breakdown at all. It was a cry for help, a desperate escape from something much bigger. Jaguar Wright, another singer who's been very vocal about the dark side of the music industry, said Jay-Z worked very hard to erase both her and Blue. She called it strategic erasure, a process where the industry doesn't just ignore you, it wipes you out completely. No more bookings, no more radio play, no more name in the blogs. You just disappear. Blue herself later said her lawyer during her contract negotiations wasn't really her lawyer. He was working for the label and for Jay-Z's circle. She said if she had known, she would have gotten her own lawyer. But they tricked her. They took her music, her rights, her control. She lost ownership of her masters and barely received any money for her own songs. Every time she tried to fight back, she hit a wall. And that's not even the end of it. There are other women who were close to Jay-Z and who also vanished from the spotlight. Take Tara Mari, who was once seen as the next big thing under Jay-Z's Arosiafella label. She was everywhere, and then suddenly, nothing. Industry sources claim Beyoncé allegedly found out Tara was getting too close to Jay-Z and shut it all down. There were rumors that no label would touch her afterward, and some even said Beyoncé made sure she never got another deal. Then, there's Kathy White, another woman linked to Jay-Z. Rumors said she was pregnant and ready to go public. But the day before she was reportedly going to speak out, she was found dead. No real investigation, no headlines, just silence. Some fans believe she was silenced before she could expose the truth. Whether or not that's true, the pattern is clear. Women connected to Jay-Z, especially those seen as a threat to his brand or his marriage, tend to disappear. Back to Blu Cantrell. In 2013, she tried to come back. She said she was a free agent and working on a third album. But nothing came out. No singles, no interviews, no tour. Just silence again. And that silence, some say it wasn't her choice. That it was forced, controlled, manipulated. Let's not forget the case of Aliyah, who was rising fast in both music and film. She was about to become the next big thing before her tragic death in a plane crash in 2001. Around that same time, Destiny's Child was breaking up, and Beyoncé was preparing to launch her solo career. Some fans think Aliyah's death left a space in the industry that Beyoncé stepped into with perfect timing. Then there's Ma. Once a huge name in the late 90s and early 2000s, she had award-winning features, major deals, and big performances. But as Beyoncé rose higher, Mia's mainstream presence faded. She moved to indie labels, struggled with distribution, and was pushed to the sidelines. And Monica? Same story. A few hits, then silence. These weren't random events. According to Jaguar Wright and others, this was a reshuffling of power pushing out anyone who could compete with Beyoncé or complicate Jay-Z's narrative. Blu wasn't just a random singer. She was caught in the middle of something much bigger than herself. She was a woman who had a connection to one of the most powerful men in the music industry and possibly carried his child. If that's true, then her silence wasn't just a personal struggle, it was a strategy. If Blu ever confirmed it, it would destroy Jay-Z's image. It would tarnish Beyoncé's legacy. It would shake the entire Carter empire, which is worth billions. That's why fans say it all starts making sense. Why she disappeared, why her music was shelved, why her name was erased, and why, when she finally broke down in public, nobody came to help. Because the industry didn't want her voice, they wanted her gone. This isn't just about gossip or speculation. This is about power, about control, about how the industry protects its stars by silencing the people who threaten their image. Blu Cantrell's story is a warning about what happens when you cross the wrong people in music. It's not just about talent. It's about staying quiet, about playing the game. And when you don't, you're out. But the truth has a way of coming back. Interviews Blu gave are being rediscovered. Whistleblowers like Jaguar Wright are refusing to stay silent. And fans are starting to connect the dots. The internet never forgets. The silence is starting to crack. And when it finally breaks open, Blu Cantrell's story won't be a forgotten mystery. It will be seen as one of the most chilling tales the music world has ever known. So the question now isn't, what happened to Blu Cantrell? The real question is, what did she know, and who made sure she could never say it out loud? And while the public was distracted by hit singles, flashy videos, and Hollywood glamour, Blu Cantrell's truth was buried beneath years of silence. Her story faded from headlines, but her absence never made sense to those who had followed her. Rise closely. She wasn't just another artist who burned out, she was removed, and her disappearance was too sudden, too complete, to ignore. Even after years of being away from the spotlight, fans continued to ask where Blu had gone. Some believed she simply walked away from fame, tired of the industry. But now, those same fans are reconsidering everything. If Blu's breakdown in 2014 was connected to the pressure and trauma she endured, then it's not a breakdown at all. It's a reaction to being erased, gaslighted, and betrayed by the very system that once built her up. There are others in the music industry who say the same thing happened to them. They speak of shady contracts, manipulation, and being forced into silence. Jaguar Wright called it out directly. She said the industry doesn't just stop working with you, it actively works against you. It buries your name. It poisons your brand. It makes you look unstable, difficult, or irrelevant. And once that label sticks,